All right, it is February. It's the first podcast of February, and I am here with Sunny Hostin. Hello, Sunny.
Hi, Brian.
Of Vision in Pink. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Last night were the Grammy Awards.
Yes.
You are someone who cares about music and more than that, cares about fashion.
Yeah, more than that.
What were your favorite moments?
I still say it was Beyonce because I truly do believe she was snubbed at the CMAs. And she has talked about not being treated well when she was there with the chicks, and feeling like an outsider. And I know what it is to feel excluded. And for her to have that sort of full circle moment, not to be recognized for the same work at the CMAs, but then to go to the Grammys, which arguably is sort of like a higher level award. I
think so.
To not only win Best Country Album, but also win Album of the Year, which was a country album.
Yes.
And what so many people don't know, we didn't have time to talk about it today, was that, you know, the banjo is an African instrument. Like the banjo is rooted in African American culture. Country music is rooted in African American culture. And what happened was, like, it used to be called hillbilly music. And I know all this because my dad's from Georgia and my dad loves country music. But, you know, it used to be called hillbilly music. But then in the 20s, they switched it and they started calling it hillbilly music and race music. But a lot of black country musicians played on hillbilly music, and they just erased them and had white stand-ins. So a lot of the country music history that we know of was performed by black musicians. And so they've been erased from history. So to have Beyonce sort of reclaim that music was really important. And there's a lot of imagery that she uses. I think she's very intentional. If you looked at when she performed in Texas for the football game, she had black riders standing on horses, and that is a very traditional stance for a black cowboy. And as you know, my son Gabriel is an equestrian, and so he has won blue ribbons and stuff. And I took him to see the Black Cowboys, and he wanted nothing more than to stand on a horse. I didn't want him to stand on a horse because he looks dangerous, and I'm risk averse. But it's really about the black cowboy culture, and she's embraced it. And someone like Dolly Parton has co-signed on her and embraced it as well. So I just thought it was a really special moment.
I mean, it was a risk for her to do this. Like, this is not what her fans
the
were expecting.
The Bayhive, I think, knows about the history that I just talked about. Like black people really do know about the history of country music. You know, I mean, and even yacht rock. Like, I listen to yacht rock.
I enjoy some yacht rock.
Because it's black music, really, right?
Sure.
And so I thought it was a very, very special moment. For me, that was the most special. Of course, Kendrick Lamar and you know, They Not Like Us. My kids were going crazy over it. But I do believe he's a Pulitzer Prize winning poet.
Oh, he's an incredible talent.
So
I didn't know he won a Pulitzer.
Yeah, I believe he did. And so I wasn't surprised, although I thought that the Drake diss track right before he came out with, you know, They Not Like Us was pretty good too.
Sure.
But just the whole night.
He's going to be at the Super Bowl, so that'll be interesting.
Yes, and I can't wait for that.
So now you and I both enjoy rap and hip hop and stuff like this, and I feel like early on in our relationship, I scored some points. You
did. You did. You know some stuff.
I know some stuff, but
surpringly so.
But I am because I'm pretty white. But now Now, for the first time watching the Grammys last night, I felt like I'm falling behind because I didn't know Doechii at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really missed this completely. Kendrick Lamar, I know, but I didn't know Doechii at all. And I watched the performance.
You're falling off.
I'm falling off. I'm very disappointed.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm of a different era.
You can't just rely on 80s, 90s hip hop.
I know. Well, no, 2000s too. I'm 48 years old. It's starting
but I'm older than you are, and I know it.
All right. Well, you're more plugged in. But making so she won for Best Rap Album.
Yes.
Making her the third woman to win the award.
Yes.
In her speech, she spoke to black women and she said, "You can do it. Anything is possible. Don't allow anybody to project their stereotypes on you.
Absolutely.
To tell you that you can't be here. To tell you that you're too dark, or that you're not smart enough, or that you're too dramatic, or that you're too loud. You are exactly who you need to be right where you are."
I felt that in my soul.
When you were growing up, who instilled this in you? Because I know this is in you also.
Yeah, my parents did. My parents always told me there is no space that doesn't have room for you. There's just no space, you know, and I just grew up knowing that. I mean, they did tell me things like your average must be excellent. So I'm very hard driving, as you know, and very hard working. You know, no one's really going to outwork me, but it was instilled in me when I was a very young child, even though, you know, my parents got married in 1968 and the loving, you know, I'm mixed race, and the loving decision was 1967. So no one really looked like me growing up.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have role models per se. I had possibility models, like, you know, well, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that. And the one thing that my father sort of taught me was, if you see someone out there that doesn't look like you, or you can't find anybody out there that looks like you, behaves the way you do, occupies a space, that means that God meant for you to be that model. And I think that's actually very true. There's no space that I don't feel like I don't belong in.
That's wonderful. And I agree with it. And were a number of really big speeches yesterday, impactful ones. I love an award show. I don't know how you feel.
I do
about
too.
It. I really do.
I like the fashion. I like the music. I especially like the Grammys, but I like the Oscars too.
I grew up doing like betting pools for the big award shows when I was a kid.
Of course,
I mean, like, but when I was like 10 years old, I was doing it. And I love all of them. You said before, like the CMAs versus the Grammys.
Yeah.
What do you think is I mean, I guess the Oscars are the number one. I think
for me, fashion, the Oscars.
Right.
Right. Or the Met Gala.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fashion. But Oscars, it's just a pretty special night. But
Grammys might be right behind it, I think.
I think it's right behind it. I mean, if Anna Wintour is listening, like I would like to go to the Met Gala.
Okay.
Before I went to the Oscars.
You think Anna Wintour's listening to the Behind the Table podcast?
I think she. Well, Brian, you say everybody's listening to us.
That's true.
She may be a Bri guy. We don't know.
She might be.
Okay, so if she's listening, I want to go to the Met Gala.
All right, well, that's all on that topic. We have a listener question that relates to what you were just saying from Chaz in Australia.
Okay. Oh, Australia.
I
dated an Aussie once.
Okay, I guess people are listening around the world. Look at that.
Well,
all right.
I don't know. This could be a plant, but I need to hear the accent.
All right, well, I can't do it, so here we go. I'm reading it. Longtime watcher and forever a Bri guy here. That's right.
This is definitely a plant.
My question is for Sunny. I'm a 25-year-old first-year lawyer, and I've just moved to the city from a small country town to work in big law. I'm the son of a single mother and the first in my family to go to college. And you're saying he doesn't exist. I've been struggling to find my place among people that are from different tax brackets and come from highly educated families filled with lawyers. So I was wondering if you had any advice for overcoming imposter syndrome, finding a community in law, and helping to navigate tough conversations about class and privilege with people coming from very different lived experiences. Well, let me just start by saying, don't let people say you're a plant. Don't let people say you don't exist. I'd start with there, but now I'll turn it over to Sunny.
I definitely think this is a plant, but I think it's relatable and it applies to a lot of people because I certainly was the first person in my family who became an attorney. I didn't have, I certainly came from poverty, and I didn't have anyone that socioeconomically reflected, you know, where I came from the Bronx Projects. And I do remember working both at the Antitrust Division, which is called sort of the ivory tower of the Maine Justice Department, and then also at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and walking down the hall. And I mean, every single person either had a Harvard, Yale, or Princeton degree on their wall. And I felt like a fish out of water. But again, I'm not to be outworked. And at the end of the day, those same people would come to me for their trial prep. They wanted me to help them. And so I would just say, you know, your average has to be excellent. You're already excellent because you're a first-year lawyer going into big law. Those are very difficult jobs to get, those law firm jobs. So you're already doing the right thing. But you should never feel like an imposter because you've earned where you are. You deserve to be in those spaces. In terms of getting along with other people, no one has your lived experience. So that means I find that to be my superpower, actually. And I think it's Chaz's superpower as well. Your lived experience gives you a perspective that no one can take away from you. You have a sort of a clarity on certain things where other people have blind spots. And so it's extremely important, especially at least as it relates to this country, you know, as a woman of color, as a woman and a woman of color, there are things that I see through my lived experience that another person cannot see. And so I am very intentional about making sure that that point of view and that lived experience is shared with other people, because in this country, I'm forced to know everything about white culture in order to be in the space that I exist in. But other people are not forced to know my lived experience or my culture, because it's a white majority country. So it's something that you can really, you're not an imposter. You're actually very special. And I say you use that to your advantage. That's what I've done.
I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
I think that's good. And I think Chaz will, the real person Chaz. All right, switching
Australian
to politics.
Chaz.
Call in. Switching to politics.
I would like Chaz to call in.
Call in, Chaz. Let's hear your voice.
I want to hear his voice.
That's
and
right.
not your fake Chaz friend.
That's not a knife. All right. Switching to politics, we're going into week 3 of Trump's second presidency.
Is it just 3 weeks?
3 weeks. And we're seeing him fulfill his campaign promises. President Trump really campaigned on the notion that he would cut government DEI programs, and even insinuated that the plane crash in D.C. could have been caused by DEI hires. We talked about this on Friday a little bit, but what do you think people are getting wrong fundamentally about DEI?
I hate to even honor his bigotry, actually, with the response. But what I will say about diversity, equity, and inclusion is that if you do not believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, then that must mean that you think that this country is truly a meritocracy, and that it is truly inclusive, that it is equitable, and it is and diversity matters, and that there is a level playing field. If you really believe that, then explain to me how the least qualified white men are up for some of the most powerful positions in our government, and how one of the least qualified presidents in our country's history and who's a 34-time convicted felon, got elected. If you believe that DEI, there's no necessity for DEI, or that DEI, that we've met the criteria, that we've repaired the past ills of this country, right? It's just, that's my question to those people that say that. And the other thing is, if you believe that DEI inured to the benefit of Black people and brown people, you need to do a little bit of research, because those programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are lofty goals, actually, they're really great, honorable roles, a role to try to get to, a place to try to get to. The people that really benefited from those programs were, by and large, white women.
All right. I'm still trying to figure out what inure means, but it's very impressive. That you could do that on the
Inured to
Inured.
benefit.
Yes, I did know, actually.
Yeah, inured.
All right.
That's an SAT word, isn't it?
It is. It's a good one. Another one of his campaign promises was retribution, which is why we saw his administration fire top FBI officials and federal prosecutors who worked on the January 6 cases.
Yes.
You were a federal prosecutor.
Yes, I was.
Are you surprised by this? I guess surprised is the wrong word, because
No,
he did say...
because he said he was going to do it. What I am surprised at is that people are surprised that he did it. You know, like Maya Angelou, when people show you who they are the first time, just believe them. They tell you who they are, just believe them. He said it out loud. He says the quiet parts out loud. And so I am part of the Association of Former Federal Assistant United States Attorneys. And there was just such outrage on the thread and such surprise on the thread. And my input was, but he said he was going to do that.
Right.
And I think what's unfortunate about it, and what most people don't understand about federal prosecutors, is that while you may be appointed by, let's say, I was appointed during the Clinton administration, you are nonpartisan.
Right.
It's not a partisan position. It's not a political position at the Justice Department. Some are. Some are, like the actual top U.S. attorney is usually appointed by the president. But the others are just lawyers, really, really good ones, top 1% in the legal field, just doing a job. That's all you're doing. And so to fire a lawyer for doing their job,
Right.
apolitically,
cases they were
doesn't
likely
make
assigned
sense.
to.
And by the way, yes, you do get assigned the cases.
Right.
You don't
volunteer for
You
them.
don't volunteer for a case like that. You don't
Right.
want a case like that. I mean, some people may have, but for the most part, when I got my caseload, I would try to give some of them back. you got what you got.
What you got. Yeah.
You got what you got.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little disconcerting and disappointing, but not surprising.
Right. All right. Well, that's interesting to me. Before we go,
Yes.
the Super Bowl is this weekend.
Yes.
Will you be watching? Is there a Super Bowl party at the Hostin House?
Well, I'm going to Puerto Rico this weekend.
Oh.
I'm going to a benefit on February 8th for the Cortez Foundation, which I talked about.
Yeah.
The Cortez family, sort of like the Hershey family of Puerto Rico. And they've invited me to this wonderful event to raise money for literacy for
how
children.
cool.
And so
Will you watch the game?
I'm going to. Manny's not going to allow me not to watch the game.
Right.
So on our way back, I guess we're going to be watching it on the plane, hopefully. I will say I'm rooting for the Eagles, which
I knew you would be.
as a New York Giant fan, like it's
can't do
kind
it.
of hard for me to like utter it. Jalen Hurts is really cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like their chances.
I mean, as Saquon Barkley,
is
former
the
Giant
man.
star.
Yeah.
I have trouble. It's not his fault that he's on that team.
It's not his fault, but
it
just
hurts.
hold on to the fact that he was a New York Giant.
I can't.
And that Jalen Hurts is
I can't
cute.
root for the Eagles.
That's
I
basically what
understand.
I'm holding on to.
I understand.
And then, of course, Kendrick Lamar.
I'm going to be with the Chiefs on this one, but we'll see what
What?
happens. I have to be. Yeah. I mean, I can't root against. I can't root.
It's boring now. A three-peat? That's
three,
boring.
it's legendary. It's almost never. It's never happened in the NFL.
It's boring.
No, I'm on board.
It's boring.
All right. Well, I'm not going to bet against the
Okay,
champs.
and the Swifties are going to come after me, but let's just watch football. Let's just not watch Taylor Swift, like cutaways to Taylor Swift.
That's not Taylor's fault that they do that.
Yeah, but let's not.
Yeah.
I'm, as a media person, media people, let's stop doing that.
Yeah, I think
If
they're
they
going to keep doing
win,
it.
that's fine, and then you can show them together in the red lipstick and the kissing and the Chiefs outfits and all of
What
that.
about when like Travis
For right
scores a
now.
touchdown?
No, just
Nothing until-
just Travis, just Travis, because
Okay.
he's playing the football.
Sure, but generally speaking, you'll show like a player's mom or girlfriend in the audience if they have a big play.
I
Sometimes
don't like
it's
that.
Not, okay.
I just want to see the football people.
All right. I like seeing Taylor. All right. Thank you for joining me today, Sunny Hostin.
Sorry, Swifties. Sorry.
Tomorrow I'll be back with Alyssa.
Yes.
Until then.
Sorry, Alyssa.
Sorry, Alyssa. Alyssa loves the Taylor Swift. That's true. All right. In the meantime, thank you to all, especially Chaz, and we'll see you then.
Chaz.